embarrassing moment did you not stop someone from doing because you wanted to see what happened instead? Story 1, I was at a convention with a friend and went to the bathroom at break time. He heads into a stall, and I go to the urinal. Man walks in right behind me and heads into other stall, unseen by my friend. Now, this man had some problems, serious noises and smell coming from his stall. And then I hear my friend say, dude, WTF, you trying to win a contest? And he proceeds to let a huge one rip and giggle. Man in other stall does not reply, and unfortunately still has his own issues. My friend says that all you got. Check this one out. I am crying from holding and laughter at this point as he lets another loud fly. My friend thinks I'm in the other stall, and we are alone in there. The other guy probably thinks he's in there with an absolute psycho. Then finally my friend, after getting no response from me, says, yeah, boy, my so powerful it got you speechless, and he laughs. Other guy is probably terrified. At this point, I start washing my hands so my friend can simultaneously hear the faucet running and shitting still going on in the stall next to him. I say, hey, Joe, just going to wash up and head back to the meeting room. Meet you there. It was absolutely hilarious how quiet that bathroom got when the realization sunk in for him. By the time they were both done, nobody wanted to come out first. My friend joined me in the meeting room, red-faced, with a look that said, seriously, dude, could you not have spoken up sooner? Edit, wow, thank for the gold. Story 2, it happened in high school. While watching an educational movie, we were 2 classes tucked into a small classroom to watch it together. So people had to sit on the desks as there wasn't enough chairs. I sat next to my friend's girlfriend on a desk, with my friend on a chair in front of us. She stroked her hand through his hair. He takes his hand behind his back and proceeds to stroke her leg. Only thing was, it was my leg. I poked his girlfriend to let her know what was going on. We both knew what had to be done without uttering the words. We let this go on for a good 5 minutes, constantly fighting the urge to laugh out loud. Then I slowly pulled my trouser leg up. He stroked my very furry leg for about half a second before he realized something was very wrong. He'll never forget his face when he turned around to see what was going on. Story 3, this one, is reversed, as it was my friend laughing maniacally while it happened to me. My college roommate used to work at this chicken restaurant called Chicken Express. We would go eat at a location close to campus. This was not the location that he actually worked at pretty often cause it's delicious. So one time he tells me, hey man, when you order the tenders, make sure you say shibby shibby after your order. That's the code to tell them you work at Chicken E, and they'll hook you up with like 20 tenders. Maybe it was wishful thinking or just plain stupidity, but I totally believed him. We drove through the drive-thru, and he was in the back seat. The conversation with the employee went like this, it'll have 2 number 1s with mashed potatoes. Shibby shibby, okay. 2 number 1s with mashed potatoes. And what was the last thing? Shibby shibby, having trouble hearing you, what now? Shibby shib. Why, sir, I have no idea what you're trying to say. Do you want to pull around? At which point I look back and see my friend almost turning blue from trying to hold his laughter in. He totally lost it, and I just drove off. Story 4, I went out to eat at hibachi with my family. I think I was 10 or 11 at the time. In addition to giving us sauce trays to dip our food into, they also gave us shaved ginger and a dollop of wasabi. My grandpa grew up during the Great Depression, so he developed a habit of always cleaning his plate. So as he finished his meal, he moved his attention to the side dish. No one else seemed to notice my grandpa, staring quizzically at this rather large green lump. Not want to waste food, he picked the entire thing up to eat it. I could have clearly stopped him as I had been watching him the entire time, but I also wanted to see what would happen. Well, he about jumped out of his seat, spitting the wasabi onto the table, and started cursing up a storm. I know it was wrong to do, but I still get a little kick out of that memory. Story 5, I work in youth corrections. The facility has a pool table, and if the guys are doing good, they can play. There's a bench in that pool room that is ridiculously poorly designed. If you don't sit dead center, it will tip you off to either side. There's an unspoken rule between staff and veteran cadets that we never inform new residents or staff of that bench. It's hilarious. Story 6, last summer we went camping, and when I tried to use one of the campground coin-operated showers, I was disappointed when I put in $1, and it didn't work. As I waited for the one that did work, a guy came up behind me and said, hey, it looks like that shower room is vacant. Are you waiting for this one in particular? I explained that I had tried it, but that it was out of order, so there was now 2 of us waiting for one shower room. Just minutes later, a woman and 3 kids comes by, looks at us waiting in line, and makes a dash for the vacant shower room. One of the kids looked at us and quietly asks if there's a line, and she responds, "Ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch," and the 4 of them go in and switch the door to occupied. Maybe I'm the one who should be embarrassed by not telling her. Undressing yourself and 3 kids. Inserting quarters that you'll never get back only to have to redress everyone and sheepishly get in the line you should have been in to begin with is probably a bit of an overkill for the crime of seeing an opportunity and taking it. Anyway, she was there in an even longer line when I got out and glared at me. as I went back to my family's camping spot. It definitely made me feel less bad about allowing her to go on a karmic adventure. Story 7. My coworker was known to have a temper in the office, and HR had talked to him a number of times about it. Unfortunately, he had a bad day. I normally try to calm him down because he's an alright dude with a wife and young daughter, but he's just a little too tightly wound. Higher-ups knew I was friends with him, and it started to reflect bad on me. Guilty by association. So he gets a bad call. We were in a claims department. One of his claimants started yelling at him. He starts with motherfucking this and that, and I'm like, nope, I can't be seen with him during this tantrum. He ends up getting so worked up that he picks up the office fax machine and throws it, nearly hitting a nice older lady. He got walked out like 17 seconds later. Edit for those who mention his wife and kid. This was a learning experience for the guy. He got fired to be sure, but he learned his lesson and is now doing well for himself and his family. Story 8. While waiting for a briefing, a room full of Air Force airmen intentionally sat in every chair other than a damaged one they knew would dip very far back when someone sat in it. I arrived, and the room was full. The anticipation was palpable. I already knew about the chair. I thought everyone did. So I sat in the only other one available and realized the last person absent at that point was a generally disliked senior NCO, a higher-up sergeant for those of you don't know. As a junior NCO, I should have taken the initiative to inform said SNCO about the chair when he arrived. And for a second, I was going to tell him that I didn't. Haha, all the airmen erupted in laughter when it happened, and it took every ounce of fortitude for me not to, as well. I was definitely LOL on the inside, though I'm not proud. Ha, edit Lolodi D. Story 9. Many years ago, was hanging out with a bunch of friends from college, which we had all graduated from about 5 years before this story takes place. We're having dinner. It's 4 married couples and 1 single dude. We all, including both members of all the couples, went to college together. The single guy starts talking about how he ran into this girl, Jennifer, who we all also went to college with, and with whom he had had a brief fling with in college. I know that every single man at the dinner table, except me, slept with Jennifer when we were in college. I also know, or at least very strongly suspect, that the other guys are not aware of each other having slept with her, and B, none of the women are aware that all of their husbands have slept with her. So not only do I not stop the single guy for talking about his recent encounter with her, I ask him a lot of questions. How is she? What's she doing? Does she have a boyfriend, man? Was she hot in college for NB? Don't you also think she was hot in college for NC? Didn't you have a few classes with her and on for about 10 minutes? Or just long enough for every other dude at the table to turn beet red? Meanwhile, single guy has no idea what's going on and is getting more and more confused about why I'm asking him questions about his old girlfriend. Story 10. My roommate in college wanted to slide down the hallway on baby oil and threw me a bottle just squirting in the floor. He was trying to show off and was he starts running before I even put oil on the floor. I could have stopped him, but had a let's see how this plays out moment. Did you know tile will remove skin and hair from a shirtless Italian man? Story 11. Lady walking out of the bathroom with toilet paper on her foot. I went to say something, and she gave me a disgusting look, so I just let her keep walking. Story 12. This past weekend, I was in the car going back home after a weekend trip to Boston with my roommate. He's a really amazing dude, but he's not that great of a driver. He gets lost all the time, he drives slow, and he's just kind of oblivious. Yet for various reasons, he was the driver for this trip. He got really mad at me for trying to assume full responsibility of navigation. I said fine, and shut up. Sure enough, about 15 minutes later, he zoned out, and we missed the exit to get off the Mass Turnpike, and immediately ended up in like an extra half hour of traffic, trying to turn around. I saw him zone out. I saw him make no effort to get into the right lane, and as soon as we missed it, I calmly pointed it out. He was very embarrassed and mad at himself. Story 13. Only embarrassing for those with a conscience. But I used to watch people shoplift at Urban Outfitters when I worked there and try to guess whether they get caught at the door or not. Normally, I wouldn't just let someone steal from my place of work, but that company is an intentionally deceitful and generally unsavory enterprise. Also, I was in college and really wanted to stick it to the man. Edit, since a lot of people are asking about what I mean about them being deceitful. Hey, race a reply I made to the first person who asked. It's not really a story, just a collection of things during the first Obama election. It appeared they were one of his biggest supporters. But the truth is, Richard Hain, the owner, regularly contributes enormous sums of money to different extreme right-wing causes and candidates. It's just business. But as an idealistic college student, I felt like they were taking advantage of Obama supporters because they were unwittingly contributing money to causes and people they didn't agree with. Another thing that bothered me was the poor quality of the clothes with the high prices. I didn't realize until I bought a few things for myself, and they almost instantly literally fell apart. I had never bought clothes that poorly made, and I was used to shopping at Walmart and the like. And of course that means sweatshops, slave labor, etc. You could see how a college student would be righteously enraged. Story 14 in high school. I took Algebra 1A and 1B math split up into a 2-year course. Instead of one, it got a lot of the lazy kids I took it because math is harder for me. Anyway, one of the kids in the class was trying to be all cool. How he was doing it, of course, was incredibly dumb. Specifically, he was trying to be it by spraying breath spray up his nose. You know, the kind that you spray twice onto your tongue. It should also be stated that I was a complete and utter loser in high school. So he's trying to be all cool, spraying this stuff up his nose. I look at him and just say, Corey, you're supposed to inhale while spraying. Now that his coolness was challenged, he did it. His face turning beet reed, him crying and slamming his head on the desk in pain for 15 minutes as a result was worth it. Story 15, I had a friend in college that dared people to kick him in the after head had too much to drink. We'll call him Dave. Part of his party trick was to keep a straight face the whole time. His success rate had given him a false sense of confidence, so he just kept egging people on. Keep in mind that the ball kickers were usually drunk freshmen who could barely put any power into it. Then one night, he decides to up the ante and ask one of the school athletes in attendance. We'll call him Ricky. I knew Ricky played soccer, and though I'm usually the buzzkill that asks everyone to be doubly sure they really want to do this, I decided to let Dave go for it. Ricky, who was also completely sober, accepted the challenge. He took a deep breath, pretended like he was readying himself for kickoff, and took aim at Dave's package. What unfolded after that moment continues to pull on my heartstrings. The moment that Ricky's foot met Dave's crotch elicited a look of horror from every man in the room. Ricky had taken Dave's dare seriously, and his foot landed with so much force that it was reminiscent of the sound that a boxing glove makes on a bag, except with a tiny squish. I was a 19-year-old girl, and even I was grabbing my crotch when I heard it. Dave quietly excused himself, while Ricky apologized profusely. After Dave hadn't been seen for a while, I went looking for him and found him lying in a ball on the bathroom floor. He had been there for about half an hour. He looked at me and said, I think I need help. Ricky, who was still feeling guilty, was also sober, and I asked him to drive us to the hospital. They did the whole 9 yards for Dave, including an ultrasound. I waited outside the room, but I could tell that the ultrasound tech was trying to make small talk, so while he was imaging Dave's and shaft, I could hear him talking about a Peter Gabriel album. The doctor said that Ricky's foot hit Dave's crotch with such force that it was as if he had sustained a stab wound to his genitals. He spent the rest of the year with a banana hammock underneath his jeans. The only funny part was that, since he dressed like a generic hipster, he had to buy new pants so they would fit over it. TLDR, don't dare people to kick you in that. Story 16, haha. Thanksgiving happens every year. I watch my life is so awesome. Relatives turn into crumbling shapes of their former selves with every glass of wine, beer, and sip of whiskey they take. My cousin suddenly spout out last year how my other uncle used to undress her when he was 14 and she was 8. She touched his purple-headed monster. They bantered back and forth about what would normally be some kind of major crime, while my other relatives looked down at their food like nothing was being said. 2 years before that, my stepbrother got like 20 phone calls from his girlfriend while his wife sat next to him uncomfortably. That marriage didn't last, and my aunt peed herself in the kitchen by accident when she could not find a bathroom fast enough. Yes, Thanksgiving is glorious, and this time of year is my absolute favorite. EBIT clarity. Story 17. So, in college, I became friends with this girl who was kind of a world traveler right when I transferred in. She was a part of the international group that welcomed all of the international students, and shortly after invited me to a party for all the international students. In meeting lots of new people, and there's a really stunning girl from Italy that I was interested in talking to. My friend encouraged me to go open with Bella Figa. When talking with her, beautiful girl was the meaning. It had Bella in it, so I thought, what the make my way to her, introduce myself, and say those magical words. The beautiful Italian girl gave me the most repulsed look and walked away. I turn around, and my friend is laughing hysterically. It translates to, you have a beautiful. Story 18, I let my drunk friend hit on a woman I knew was married, in a bar that the woman's husband owned. While said husband was watching from behind the bar, he got about 3 words into his "hey baby, come here often" style pickup line before the husband swooped over and macked on his wife. My friend asked me why I didn't tell him, and I told him I figured the ring and the picture of the husband and wife bar owners on the wall should have been enough. Guess not. Story 19, a friend of mine in college had a long-distance relationship 5-hour drive. He always spoke to his GF and told her lies about going out and what time he got to his apartment, etc. Even though I believe he genuinely loved her and cared for her a lot, he cheated on her whenever he had an opportunity. One day at a party where he wasn't supposed to be, there was this girl, mutual friend of us, with a brand new Canon camera taking pictures of everything. That night he was making out with a girl while a little drunk and got in the frame of the pictures 2 times in the background. During the night, this dude talks to the girl and convinces her to erase any picture that had him in it. All three of us sit together and start erasing pictures of him. I spot one of the pictures where he is in the background making out and stay quiet. The next day, his GF logs into FB and spots 2 pictures where he is making out in the background with another girl and in their relationship. I broke a bro code, and I'm not proud, but F people who cheat. Story 20, my wife and I decided to hang out with some friends one night, and we noticed a new guy join the group. He seemed nice, but a little off, turned out to be a total stalker who always carried a backpack. We nicknamed it the Rape Kit. Anyways, we were playing some games, and this guy manages to cut his hand wide open. Since no one really knows the guy, I offer to take him to the hospital. My wife and I jump in the car. I let him sit in the front seat. He seems super happy about my wife riding along with us and start chatting with her. I keep peeking in the mirror, realizing he's total interested in my wife, and my wife is trying to keep a straight face. She lets him flirt, trying to be nice and not embarrass him as I drive in silence until we get to the hospital. He hops out and is trying to make plans with my wife to go out to dinner or a movie, and she's dropping hints like flashing her ring and telling him she's busy. Finally, he's like, fine, if you don't want to go out, just say so. I laugh and tell him I don't let my wife go out on dates without me. He got beet red and told his head find his own way home. I think I enjoyed watching the boost of confidence it gave my wife the most. I can tell her she's amazing all the time, but stuff like that is proof. Story 21, coworker. Let's call him John. Got a Raspberry Pi delivered to the office and was talking about it at lunch. Other coworker, let's call him Jim. Legit thought he was talking about dessert. He thought it strange that a pie would be delivered by mail, but was still excited to try it. Everybody except Jim knew that it was the mini computer, not a pie, but John still kept up the ruse. We all still wanted to see the pie anyways, so we all went back to John's office for the unboxing. Jim even showed up with disposable plates and cutlery. The reveal was pretty hilarious. Story 22, this was back in middle when I was in 8th grade. I had gym, which was a mixture of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. The coach was talking to us for a while, and after told us to change into our gym clothes, out of the corner of my eye saw a kid get up and start a strip. He had taken off his shirt, and it was only till he started working on his pants did the coach yell, "I in the locker rooms." I'm pretty sure that none of the students are going to say anything. Story 23, I was at a casino buffet, once standing in the sushi section waiting for my turn. This old white lady cuts the line and takes a huge dollop of wasabi and puts it on her plate full of Mexican food. I can only assume she thought it was guacamole, which for some reason they kept next to sushi. In the moment, I felt she deserved what was coming to her. Story 24, my teacher didn't turn off the projector after the PowerPoint, and you could see his desktop on the smartboard. Everybody was quiet and just looking, hoping for something embarrassing to happen. Then he opened up his email. He just went through reading a couple emails before he noticed. Story 25, my friends and I were outside near some picnic tables at night. There were 4 of us, including me, 2 guys and 2 girls, while our one guy friend, let's call him guy 1, thought it was a dandy idea to close his eyes and wander around and see if he could feel his way around. Meanwhile, our other guy friend, guy 2, is laying on his back on the picnic table. Guy 1 approaches the picnic table, and as my girlfriend and I watched in slow motion, just places his hand right on guy 2's. Guy 2 is chill about it, just goes, "I mate, that's my," and guy 1 is super embarrassed. One of us could have said something, but we want it to happen. Guy 1 knows my Reddit username. So if he sees this update, he just saw it. I think he's commenting now. He says, "Hi." Story 26, not long ago. I spent 9 months on an aircraft carrier for deployment. About 6 months, and the days were all looking the same, so anything for a laugh was welcome. One afternoon, I visited a bathroom near my workstation to find a friend, and the walls and ceiling dripping wet. He said the toilet had exploded in his face when he flushed it. Now, it's not uncommon for pipes to break, and I had a small chuckle at his misfortune. It wouldn't even have been memorable had it ended there. A while later, I returned, tried to stay hydrated, and someone was in the stall mopping the place up. Again, nothing memorable. I take care of my business and leave, but think, wow, they fixed that cuckly. Back again, after a quick drain and washing my hands, and see someone I don't really know enter the stall in question through the mirror. At this point, it dawns on me the average repair time for issues like this is usually weeks, not hours. I expected a C-tape labeling the stall secured, but here was this guy, taking a leak in a mop-dry stall. The thought to warn him crosses my mind, but I just have to know, I need this. I take a step to my left as the trickle stops. The metal clink of the handle is immediately followed by the rush of a fire hose at full blast. Water sprays clear out onto the mirror I had been looking through against the stall walls and pounds against the ceiling. When the blast ends and the bottom of the stall looks like waterfall, I hear soggy boots slowly turn around with a squishy slosh, and out steps a dripping Marine in a drenched uniform. We exchange surprised glances as I suppress my laughter. To break the silence, he says, "Well, that sucked," and slowly sloshed out of the bathroom. Could have stopped it, but it made my day, week, month deployment. Story 27, without the lack of trying. One of my friends was super convinced this girl he was talking to online was into him. Said she was from Ghana, and even sent pics and blurry vids of herself, but made lame excuses why she can't do a live video chat or phone call. Spent hundreds if not thousands of money to send her Becker mom was sick, rent money, etc. Yes, it's one of those dating scams. She found him on Messenger. Anyway, even with evidence that she was some dude from NorCal scamming him for false hopes of romance, he still wooed Budge and even had the gall to call me a jealous hater. Left him alone until his pretty much was losing money every week. His friends made fun of him to this day, of his stupidity. The only reason he finally gave up other than being broke was when me and his friends sent him a screenshot of her chatting up other men who posted their scam stories online. Same photos, name used. He confronted the girl, which she gave a sob story that she was hacked, don't believe your friend, my love, etc. He still actually believed her for another week before getting convinced he was conned. Story 28, my then girlfriend wanted to walk into the Great Salt Lake. I told her it wasn't sand on the shore, but mud, deep, sloppy mud. She didn't care what I thought. She thought I was an idiot. So I sat back and watched. She stepped off a rock and sank in the stinkiest mud that exists. She wallowed around to find her shoes and retreated to the rock. Smelled so bad. She made it to a bathroom and washed herself off. Had to throw the shoes away. Couldn't get the smell out. Dumb. I'm still laughing. Happened here, there was water there. Then edit, she did get me back a year later. She was standing by a pond looking at a log when I walked up to her. She said, "That's a fish." I looked at this log that was a couple feet long, floating motionless, just off the bank in this little pond, and say, "There's no way that's a fish. It's a log, way too big for a fish." We make our way to the edge of the water with a little stick to poke this log. Whoosh, the giant fish takes off. I screamed, jumped up, tried to pull my girlfriend who was not scared back from the edge, which landed me on but in the muck. She was doubled over laughing at me. I told you it was a fish. She said, "Biggest stupid log-shaped stupid fish I've ever seen." Story 29, I had a wonderful moment of karma. Worked at a restaurant where the owner's son was a manager, and one day he ripped the out of his pants and didn't know his was hanging out. No one among the staff of about 20 people told when he finally realized, he was livid as he had been walking through the dining room. When asked why none of us said anything, someone piped up and said, "You said staring at butts was harassment, and we could be fired." Story 30, I'm way late to the party, but I hope someone sees this and gets a laugh out of it. Back in high school, my buddy wore gray pants to our prom. He was sweating a bunch and had a major case of swamp. He decided it would be best to drench his suit pants with water so you couldn't tell he was sweating through his clothes. Seeing him soaking the dance floor with his dripping wet pants is still one of my favorite high school memories. Story 31, gym in high school. Kids were playing volleyball, and my buddy and I were sitting about 20 feet away from the edge of the court, just talking about whatever teenagers talk about. On the other side of the court, some guy serves and overhits it. The balls start coming at us. I notice it's going to just miss me, but looks like it might hit my friend. I'm about to attempt to block it, when a little voice in my head says, "No, let's see what happens." Hits my friend square in the face. Never saw it coming. I start laughing and trying to ask if he's okay, but can't get the question out as I was laughing so hard. I'm so sorry, Roberto. Story 32, my boss and I were having a video conference with a colleague who was working from home. About 10 minutes in, he bumps his laptop reaching for a new microphone he wanted to show us, and the webcam moves and focuses right in on his crotch, revealing that he is wearing only a pair of bright blue men's bikini underwear. My boss and I look at each other, ready to bust out laughing, but we remain silent. Center screen full detail crotch shot for a good 15 seconds before he notices. He was less embarrassed than I thought he would be, saying, "Oops." So anyway, hey, race this cool new microphone I got. Story 33, we had a project in high school, and everyone had to make a poster for political science. Someone asked me how to spell cum, and being the mature person I spelled it out for them, which was promptly written on their poster. Kid got laughed at when he did his presentation. It was worth it. Back in high school, a friend of mine was planning to ask another friend to prom during theater rehearsal. Her character was supposed to read a note during a scene, and he wanted to write prom. Look left on it to reveal himself with a bouquet of flowers. Sadly, she had been asked by 3 guys and already planned to go with one. Everybody knew this but him, but we all wanted to see what was going to happen. So the scene starts. She looks at the note and doesn't dare look to the left. She was visibly uncomfortable because she knew who wrote it and didn't want to hurt his feelings. Needless to say, he got bummed in his car after practice, and when he drove away, he was too distracted with his feelings and lightly crashed his nice car to the principal's old sedan. The principal's car made it out with just a couple scratches. His got wrecked. Perhaps we should have said something. Edit note, it has come to my attention that getting bummed in Britain means to get butt-fucked. In America, it just means to get depressed, saddened. Story 34, in middle school. A friend of mine tripped in the middle of the crowded hall. Me, being the I am, watched instead, she ended up grabbing a guy in front and pantsing him. They both fell with their hands on his cheeks. Everyone stared. On the plus side, they are dating now. Story 35. Teacher in class reading the review questions from the end of the textbook chapter. One guy was sort of falling asleep on the left side of the room. The teacher loved calling on people he knew weren't paying attention. So he calls on him to answer. I don't remember what the question was. The guy jumps up in his seat and mumbles to his friend sitting behind him asking what the answer is, since he obviously didn't even hear the question. Without hesitation, his friend whispers, "Answer is B, clitoris." And as fast as he can, he yells out, "B, clitoris." And once he realizes what he just said, sinks lower in his chair than I thought possible and turns fire engine red, all while swearing at his friend behind him. I laughed so hard I cried. The teacher just looked at him and pretended he didn't hear his answer and asked him to give it again, which he obviously by then figured out what the actual multiple choice options were and gave one of those. We knew his friend was going to give him the wrong answer, and man, am I glad everyone let it happen. Story 36. Went with a friend to a fast food joint. He was talking to someone on the phone, so I went inside to use the bathroom. This was one of those individual bathrooms with no stalls, just one toilet. I try to lock the door, but I realize the lock is broken. I do my business, and luckily no one comes in. At this point, I go and order. I receive my food and have a seat. The reason I'm not waiting for my friend is that I knew he was talking to his girlfriend, who would literally talk to him for 45 minutes every time she called. He would never say, "Can I call you back? I'm just doing something." In any case, I'm about done with my food. And finally, my friend walks through the door and heads to the bathroom. Now, moments before that, I saw an overweight elderly man walk in there. I decided to keep quiet as my friend kept me waiting for quite some time. And it was a regular occurrence. GF calls and the world must stop. He walks into the washroom, and all I hear is H-U-Y-Y-Y. He quickly jumps back and walks toward me red-faced. I was laughing quite hard. Story 37. I was sitting in a car in a Home Depot parking lot watching these two guys tie drywall to the top of their car. They were running the rope through the driver and passenger side window with the door closed, so I watched. Of course, they got done, went to open the doors and couldn't open them. They had to jump through the window. One of the guys was a short little fat guy. He hopped into the window and got stuck. I could only see the end as he struggled to get in. The thought of him wedged in the window, kicking his feet to get in, still cracks me up. Story 38. It was a college group project where we had to create a database for a business. I knew what the business wanted, but the other group members had a totally different interpretation. I argued with them, but gave up knowing full well what was about to happen. I knew my marks were high enough to take the hit. We had to do a presentation in front of the class, the teacher, and the boss of the business. It was a train wreck as the teacher and the boss started peppering us with questions as why we didn't do what the business asked us to do. At one point, the leader of the group shut down, and I had to take over for a bit and try to salvage it a bit. To me, the sad part was the other guys in the group were smart people. They just couldn't let go of their idea. Story 39. When I was working in the fitting room of a discount store, a woman came out with the max items, all not on hangers. When I told her she needed to hang the clothes back on the hanger, she says she doesn't work here, and I needed to do it. So as she's walking away, I noticed her skirt was tucked up in her underwear. I didn't speak up, just let her walk around like that.